This is Sheets for those of you who are first here. We're going to be going over the two-game MLB slate. Had a good day in the MLB yesterday. I cashed in both the big buy-ins, and I had a run in a couple of the showdowns. I'm just basically relying on projections, a couple of takes maybe, and SaberSim to help build the lineups, and using certain variations of the contest sims to tweak and just kind of let them roll. So we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Let me forgive me for going a little bit early. If you want, you can catch up by going into rewind. So I guess the first thing I'll do is I'll share the sheets for the two games, and then we'll just get right into lineup builds here. So let's see. All right, so two games, and they're spread out rather nicely. There's like a 4 o'clock, and then I think there's an 8. And by the way, we're going to go over showdown as well for both of them. We're going to build showdown slates, showdown builds for both games. Let me just see what the timing of it is. I think it's 4 o'clock and 8. Let me just confirm that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's the case. It is, yeah, 4:07 and 8:03. So it's very unlikely that there's any type of overlap today. Okay. Oh, good to see a lot of you here. So again, we don't have the lineups yet for Baltimore and Texas, so we're just going to go with what we have. And I did update the sheets or whatever. And first, I just want to just take a look at this. First thing you'll notice with the pitching is that there's no great option. For those who've been following along the sheets since I started them, a value score of 20 for a pitcher is really, really poor. So I would say that there's really no good pitching option. But there are only 4. So between Javier, Sonny Gray, Eovaldi, and where is he? Kramer. Kramer is definitely the weakest of them all, and the other 3 are pretty well close enough. And unfortunately, ownership is kind of following that. So probably not going to get to too much value, too much leverage over there. It seems as though everybody's going to be priced pretty well efficiently. Maybe we can get a little different in the hitting. The other thing I kind of noticed is that you got this Cedric Mullins play who's really, really well projected for some reason. It's just because I guess the pitchers are not that well projected, because it's not like he's that much higher than anybody else. So it does seem like one of those slates where the pitchers might not even put up that many points, and it's just going to be a battle of the stacks. See what type of hitting you can come up with. Just eyeballing it, it looks as though a couple of cheap Texas guys can make this work, right? Because you have Garver. Well, I have Garver and Heim both in. I guess one could be DH. So these 3 cheapos, I guess, can make Texas stack work. I'm just kind of guessing. We're gonna let SaberSim kind of help us with this, and then we're also gonna look at the showdowns slate. And we had a couple of shots yesterday with some of the relievers that we used. We got a good inning out of Jimenez. We got a good inning out of inning and a half or whatever, out of Kelly or whatever. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's take a look at FanDuel real quick, and then we'll build. I mean, look at this. It's pretty much the same. Eovaldi, Gray, Javier, all almost like identical. I guess here you have a little more ownership on Eovaldi, so if you had to pick one, it probably wouldn't be him, I guess. But then there's a really big gap. Well, there's a really big gap down at Kramer, but if this is real, like only 9% ownership, that actually might be worth a shot. Considering, again, the fact that these Texas guys all look really cheap, I bet you that if you played Kramer on FanDuel, you probably get a decent amount of leverage. Again, we're presuming this ownership is correct. But if this is true, that you could actually get less than 10% of any pitcher on a 2-game slate who's going to start for real, I think that's probably where you have to go. That's just my instinct. Let's see what we get when we put SaberSim to work. So a couple of things that I did already is I put the the uh, the contest sim settings in. So I'm doing the same things I did yesterday. I'm playing the relay throw in the 2-game slate, which is like the lottery, and then also one big buy-in. And the relay throw, I'm just double checking this for my own sanity. This is what you have to do. 11,700 people. You put in contest size, 33% for first. We're comparing it to the flagship MME. And then the Grand Slam, which is the big buy-in, I'm comparing that to high stakes MME, only 250 people in it, 25% for first. And again, what we're trying to do here is first build lineups and then tailor them to fit the actual contests that we're playing. So let's first, just build the lineups. I already pre-uploaded the projections. You'll see that they're different than the SaberSim ones. And I pre-uploaded the ownership as well. So we could just go ahead and just build. Now let's just see what we're building. We're going to only play 30 in a 2-game slate, but I still want to build just for, show process, all 5,000 lineups that you can build, because you never know. I mean, you never know how much you need to go to those other 5,000. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this contest sim tool is pretty available across all the sports. The only thing is that you have to wait for SaberSim itself to put out its own Sims lineups before it can even go into Sim mode. So if you have your own projections and SaberSim has not put any of theirs out yet, then it doesn't let you go into simulation contest sim mode. So sometimes that's a little bit annoying in some sports where SaberSim is a little bit late. So SaberSim, for example, they're usually late to golf. I mean, they're not late; they still come out like 2 days early, or whatever. But not as early as maybe if you want to test some pre-builds. In football, they might not be as quick. And MMA, they sometimes wait until Friday to put their first set of sims/projections out there. So that's one thing that's a little annoying. You could still go into optimizer mode, but that's obviously not as robust. Okay, so we're building the 5,000 lineups, and I'd love to see the differences between what this looks like raw and what it looks like when you're applying the contest sim settings. So let's just see. And you guys can feel free to ask whatever questions. I opened up the chat here. And loading. Okay, so without making any changes, it's looking like, wow, they really want me to be cheap and pay for and use Kremer. And as far as stack exposure goes, like 100% Baltimore. So remember when this happened yesterday? For those of you that were here for the breakdown yesterday, it was the same thing. We had 100% 100% of two teams, and it was 100% of the 2 lowest total teams, which I found interesting. Because I guess when you build, it really prioritizes leverage as opposed to just raw points. So let's hit this button, which is the Run Contest Sim. And if the algorithm is running the same, and this is actually pretty interesting to me to see how it works. If it's similar to yesterday's construction, it'll just spread this out a little bit. Like it still might give me majority of Baltimore and Houston, but it'll spread it out just a little bit, especially in the lottery. So we shall see. That's the other thing about doing this. It really gives you like a good sense for how GPPs really work and why you really shouldn't be just playing like the best plays. Okay. All right. So let's sort these by, well, first by relay throw. And we're going to sort by risk-adjusted ROI. And actually, it didn't really change that much at all. It still got me 90% Houston. Okay, but it got me off a little Baltimore. It went to a little bit more Texas. Okay, so this is the stand that you might consider taking. And you gut check this. And since Houston appears in both sets of bills, I think Houston's probably the way you're supposed to play. Now, the other thing I will do is probably go to min uniques too. This way you spread it out a little bit. I'm pretty comfortable with that if you want to know the truth. So I'm gonna put those in. And as a matter of fact, we'll do that one first. We'll go we have to download this from DraftKings. We already oops. mess something up here. Let's start over. Let's download this here. Okay, good. Now we'll do this. Good. So it loaded, and then we will put this in the relay throw. Boom. See that little thing shimmied, which means it's saved. Now let's see how it's different when we apply this to the Grand Slam, which is the higher buy-in. See if it's different. It's a little different in that it's not really a pure, well, it is still pure. It's 5 Houstons and then 2 Texases and a 1-off from Minnesota. So we only need 1 lineup in that. And Julian is just as, pretty fine 1-off there. So we will just go ahead and put that in. Now, the other thing is that one thing you really need to do when you have the benefit of these staggered starts is take advantage of the late swap. If you're going to be around anyway, I mean, just run one more build after everything starts and whatever it is. Even if you don't want to change anything, run it again. With updated sheets and updated projections. I might not be able to update my sheets, but update whatever Sabersim has. It certainly couldn't hurt. And I don't want to get into the theory behind it, but theoretically, like mathematically, it's actually always better to swap once we know any information than not to swap. Always. Now, it's a little tricky because you don't always know what you need to swap to. But if you think about it, if there's any information that's in, let me see if this worked. Yeah. If there's any information that's in, then technically your approach should be different. Okay. Because you should be relying on that information. All right. Let's now, want to do FanDuel first and then Showdown? Yeah, let's do that. So let's go and we'll do FanDuel. And FanDuel, I'm playing something similar. I'm doing 3 different contests in this, and I'll show you what we're doing over there. Let's see, all slates, MLB, FanDuel, and we'll put this in here. And we'll upload the projections. I think I have already, actually. Yeah, but just in case, upload them here, save, and we're good. So same thing, we're going to play the squeeze, 30 in that. We're going to play 1 in the Monster, and we're also going to play 5 lineups in the Grand Slam, which is like a $33 buy-in. And I'm treating that with the same settings as the squeeze, using kind of that flagship lottery type settings. It probably should be somewhere in the middle. But like, for example, I'm still comparing it to flagship, even though I'm putting, the lower contest size in. So just keep that in mind. And again, same thing. Let's look at build settings. We'll play, 30 lineups. We're going to build the full 5,000 and see what FanDuel looks like. Now, when you saw me do this, it brings up something that people ask me a lot. Like, would you ever, do you limit the amount of exposure to any one team? And that's a question which I get across all sports when I'm using Sabersim to help me build. In general, I don't mess with any of it. And that could, produce some results where you get like 95% of some team. Okay. And I know that feels wrong sometimes. But if you're going to rely in any sense on some of these systems, it's usually best to not question it. Okay. Now, with that said, if you don't have the risk tolerance for that, then yeah, you could just manually, reduce things, and it's not going to really affect your EV that much because you're still drawing from a good pool of lineups. But to answer your question, the questions that are out there, I usually don't mess with the exposures. I mean, if I get what I get, like I used to tell my kids, you get what you get, you don't get upset. And yeah, we're getting to hockey later. So. All right, so we built the lineups, and again, before we mess with it, let's just see what it looks like on FanDuel. Not that many 4-4s, by the way. And again, about 100% Houston. So let's do the contests in and see see what we get. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the FanDuel. I think with the hockey, I think I'm just going to do a video as soon as I'm done with this. Or maybe I'll just do it live and then save it as a video. I mean, who cares, right? If anybody wants to ask questions, they can. So I'll start it here. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll close out this baseball when I'm done with it, then relaunch a hockey and just go, I guess. I'm not going to have the late lines, but who cares? You guys can figure that out later. So I ran the contest sims, and let's see what they look like on FanDuel. And same type of deal, except here you're getting more Minnesota, which is interesting. Okay, so that's something different. So that's good news. We'll change this to 2 uniques. And again, I think about this a lot as well. And no one's really dealt with this, is how to gauge and manage exposures across sites and across portfolios. And is that relevant? You know, should you be managing your exposure to players, even though maybe someone's a good play on FanDuel, but a bad play on DraftKings, so you play it on FanDuel, you know, but how do you gauge and how do you figure out, not what to root for necessarily, but how to like portfolio build? That's really what I do for a living with my hedge fund stuff, with my stock stuff. So that's pretty interesting to me. But nonetheless, I'm getting more Minnesota over here, and I'm not going to mess with this either. I'm going to go ahead and just fire this. So let's do this. We want to download the template from FanDuel. Okay, so CSV edit. We're going to download this. Then we're going to upload this to here. Okay, and we're going to save this into the squeeze. Just like, I'm getting pretty good at this, right? I didn't know my way around the system as recently as a week ago. But you just got to get practice in it. All right, now let's do the monster. Again, we're going to rate this, the monster, by RAROI. That's risk-adjusted ROI. Same type of deal, but now more Minnesotas. It's good enough for me. Well, it's only one lineup, so, but it's interesting to see. So Houston, Minnesota again. So let's put that in here in the monster. And then finally, we will do this Grand Slam. RAROI. But we need 5 lineups there. So we're going to put 5 lineups in. Can't do really 2. I guess you could do 2 uniques. That's interesting. And we will put that in the Grand Slam. Boom. Unique random is fine. That's in. I'm like excited about this, and we're getting really smooth with this, especially when we have like all these other sports that we're gonna have to deal with. Like when the NBA comes back, we're gonna have to be really nimble. It's good to get used to your processes and used to your technology, you know, and see what's going on. Now, same deal with FanDuel. I want you to make sure that you're late swapping later. I mean, if you're around. Okay, now let's go back to the showdown. Showdown slate. Where are we? All slates, MLB, DraftKings, Houston, Minnesota. All right. So I uploaded the projections here for like all the games. So what it did was it culled just the players from this game and loaded these. And what I did was I left all of these relievers that SaberSim is projecting in the mix. So here are the guys I'm gonna have to just knock out. Okay, I just don't think I can get away with, you know, these 10K guys that have a projection, because they're gonna show up. I'm telling you. Now we could wait until they show up and then X them out later, or we could just save the trouble and X them out now. So let's just X them out now. We're not playing like Urquidy at 10K, who's going to have a 2-point projection. We're just not doing that. Paddock as well. So that's not going to work. So we'll X those guys out. But all the other 4Ks, we're just going to keep in play for now. Okay? Take Paddock out of the captain too. It's trying to trick me into having these guys in the captain when I'm not having them anywhere else. Stanek. All right, so all these guys are fine. So let's just build. We're going to play 30 lineups. Now we're not going to be able to get through. Well, we might be able to get through 3,000, but Showdown is rough to build. So let's just see what it does. No other changes, and I already put the contest sims in for this one as well. You know, the only other thing I would consider doing is doing kind of like a dupe, putting in some dupe medication. Meaning, I do this with NFL Showdown and maybe MMA as well, to make sure that there's the ownership is such that you don't get duped a reason that many times. But in baseball, you do have like 20 guys to choose from, with no limitations. It's not like MMA where it's really like 10 fights or 20 guys to choose from, and you really can't play, guys in the same fight. I mean, you could, but whatever. Where baseball, there's 20 guys, and there's like a lot of combinations you can play. So I'm not really too worried about duplication in an MLB Showdown. So I'm not going to do that. We're just going to just roll with this. Now let's see what we have here before we even get moving. Before we even do the contest sim, just for the hell of it, I like to see how many relievers we get. We're getting a decent amount, so I actually like that. It's a really good feeling when your reliever that you don't know if he's even going to play at all, like, comes into the game, because they're always 2% owned, and all you need is one of those guys to have a good inning and a half, and you are so far ahead of the field that is awesome. Okay, and I just kind of like doing that. So let's run the contest sim. And again, you have to kind of make peace with it. That you might get some zeros, but you know what? These baseball players get zeros also. The actual position players, and they're all going to be 20% owned. So you get like a Griffin Jax game or something like that in Showdown. I think it's worth it. All right, so let's see. So let's first go to let's do the hidden ball trick, which is the MME thing. And let's see what we get. So some of these are really interesting. So right off the bat, you see Griffin Jackson, the captain, in some of these. So hear me out for a second. First of all, you have Griffin Jackson, the captain. You have like several lineups with these guys in the captain. Okay. So I do want you to hear me out with the logic, if you wouldn't mind. Okay. Okay, let's pull up one of these lineups. So with the Griff Jackson, the captain lineup, for example. Okay. All right. So you'll note that there's $49,600 in this lineup. Okay. So I want you to consider something like if all these guys, the only way to get all of these guys is if you play a $4,000 guy in the captain, right? Otherwise, you literally can't afford all these guys in the flex, okay? So unless you can tell me that there is another guy who's a flat 4K, XYZ 6K in the captain, I mean, you can certainly make this argument. The only thing I would say is that here you have Maldonado, who's 4,200. So if he went into the captain, you could actually put him in. Okay. So I think that because Maldonado exists as an option, I think that we should probably X out these 4K captains. So let's go ahead and do that. Which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. I'm not sure what the Baltimore lineup is yet. I know the truth. So we will X out. Oh, we'll X out these guys from the captain. Just because it's very unlikely that they get in, and if they do, you see Maldonado in the captain, it just makes too much more sense. And then Neris, Montero. But it really wants you to do it, though, right? It's pretty funny. But these Maldonado and the captain lineups are pretty cool because it's like really one of the only ways you're going to get to all those other guys. Right? Let's take a look. Exposure. Very nice. Okay. So we're basically getting 40% Maldonado and the captain. Sounds good to me. I wonder if we can get away with this. I mean, Uniques 2. Yep, we can do that. So let's save this to the, well, let's first download this, put this up here. And this, I love playing MLB Showdown for this reason. I love getting to these stupid relievers. And yeah. So let's now go to the switch, which is the kind of like the single entry type thing. And this one looks rather normal. So we'll go with that one. Still Maldonado and the captain, though. Pretty cool, though. I mean, you can get both these pitchers and then Steve Maldonado and the captain, all these guys over here. 49.9 is the only way you can get to these guys like this if you put Maldonado and the captain. All right, sounds reasonable. But I have so much Maldonado and the captain in those others, and maybe I won't do that. Put somebody else. Now it wants Matan in the captain. Yeah, it really wants all those guys in. So I'm not gonna fight. I'm gonna give myself a Maldonado again. I'm gonna put that one in. Showdown in there, and then we'll upload that. Is Kierstead in the Baltimore line? Yeah, I just don't know yet. But we can, mess with that later. All right, so let's edit, upload, entries. Oh, okay. All right, so while we're here, let's do the showdown for the late game as well, and see what that looks like. Oh, by the way, we got off to a good start in the LOL today. A good start in the LOL. We got second. We got like third or fourth in the whatever you call it, that Triumphant Warrior. All right, so let's build these. Again, I pre-uploaded all these, including all these relievers. But let's again go and we'll take out the expensive relievers, and there are none actually. Actually, there's Tyler Wells, and he actually might get in, and you definitely don't want him at 10K. He gets in. I'll put this over here, and then we will put this Tyler Wells, take him out over here, and let's just build lineups like this. So we're going to build 30 again. And again, same thing as before. I set the contest sim settings for both the relay throw and the perfect game. Now again, obviously we're going to have to redo this when we get the lineups. Okay, but just again show you the process. And we're only building 2,000 lineups, which is to kind of give you a sense of what type of things we're getting. By the way, I'm sorry, but yesterday's NFL Showdown slate, that Aaron Jones injury really messed with me because not messed with me, it messed with my whole lineups. So I was going to play Patrick Taylor, who's going to be 2% owned if Aaron Jones played, and turns out Aaron Jones was benched. He was hurt. So Taylor was only projected at 8% ownership, which I knew couldn't be the case, but I went with that as my settings, and he ended up, of course, 40% in the big buy-ins, among other things. Anyway, okay, let's run the contest sim. And then again, the fun part is just seeing how many relievers we get. Okay, let's see. Again, relay throw, ROI, and it looks as though we are safe from no, we're not safe from relieving pitcher captains. So before we use these, I want to make sure there's nobody like this one's 49.8. Okay. And as long as there's no position player at 4K or, or 40, or 4K actually has to be 4,100. There's no 4,100. I don't think. So let's just see what some of these price tags are of some of these other guys. No, it doesn't look like there's anybody at like 4K flat who's a position player. So we're going to keep these relievers and the captains for now, okay? Which is very, listen, it's very offbeat. It's very, it's not, likely to win. But if it happens, we're in business. But what I will probably do is, and I think it's going to happen anyway, like all these ones with the relievers and the captain, they all are using the full salary, which is what you want to see. Now this one, the Jose Clerk 49.4, I don't want to use that one. I wouldn't want to use that one because I know that I could get to somebody else. So we would have to change this one, for example. So what you could do, I mean, you probably could write some code or some group to say that if there's a reliever in the captain, make sure it's 5,000. So like this one, for example, I wouldn't want to play this one. So this one, you just get rid of this like this. Can we just delete this one? Yeah, we can delete this one. Let's delete that one. Let's just go back to, so all these guys with the relievers with less than 5K, less than 50K or whatever, we can get rid of. Let's just see. Let's see. Burke is, how much is that? I don't know how much the salary is. That's 50K. And you would just keep doing this. Put this in, delete this one or whatever. We'd have to then refill, right, with another two or whatever. But this is probably the deal. Now again, we have to rebuild this later. Okay, so this is just kind of the process though. But that's what I would do, is I would leave the reliever and the captain lineups for when there is, no money left on the table. Okay, because there's a reason why those jam in there is because even at zeros, they can get you access to all the other guys in the flex. Okay, and not to mention the fact they're going to be like 0%. Okay. Okay, as a matter of fact, I was fighting with a couple of lineups that looked like that yesterday. So let's do this. Hold on. So download template, upload here, put this in the relay throw, and boom, just for now. And then we will go to the perfect game, ROI there. We'll put just one lineup in, I guess. And this one for now has the reliever in the captain. I mean, I'm telling you, this is pretty kind of like galaxy brain crap, but try it a few times. All right, play it in the micros or something like that, and you would be surprised how often these things get competitive. And this one, I probably don't need to do this in this particular contest. Okay. Hello. Hey, I'm recording, talking. What's going on? What's happening? Oh, how'd that go? Oh, let's go. All right, let me go finish this. I'll probably be back at about 5:15 or so. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Okay, bye. Well, all right. Okay, so that is probably the size of it. And we got to watch for the lineup changes as they come a little bit later. And so what I'm going to do is at 4 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to fire up an NHL slate, an NHL video. I'll do it live at 4. I'll post it in the Discord as well. It'll give me a chance to update projections if there are any changes, and I'll build lineups then. It's not going to have the last bit of the lineup line changes and line announcements, but it's freaking opening day. You don't think they have this settled by now? Anyway, okay, that will do it. Watch for all kinds of sports coming. Hockey later, League of Legends, football Thursday. I'm going to be away this weekend. I'll actually be back Sunday evening, but I'm pretty much gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But you'll hear from me in many ways, and that'll do it.